Good afternoon, good people. It's your boy, Victor Vincent, yet again with another episode of Beyond the Algorithm. And got a special topic that I saw, and I saw a lot of information getting passed around about this, and I just don't believe that it's true. I'm going to play the video, and I want you to hear the same thing I heard so we can determine how true you think this story actually is. Now, this is Beyond the Algorithm, and what I'm on is media literacy, and this is an example of it right here. Let me refresh this video so you guys can chime in on it and then tell me what you think. And then I'm gonna show you a couple of other things that I saw that made me question it altogether.
And the young girl shot her in the eye. The judge said, I'm dismissing all charges on this little girl and on the mother, because they eventually, of course, went back into Walmart and pulled up the receipt off of the computer register and then pulled the receipt and said she paid for the TV. On top of that, the white cop had choked her mother out. Right. Mother was unconscious. So the judge said the girl was justified in blowing that cop away. But of course, you know, she's going to be traumatized from now on. I need to see a receipt for the TV that you bought. She said, man, she just told you I bought the TV. She just pushed past him and went on to her car. So by the time she gets to her car with her daughter, she puts her daughter in the car. She calls this brother over to help her put the TV in the car. Just as they go to put the TV in the car, this white cop, female cop, pulls up on her and said, put your hands up, put your hands up. You know, and you know, you suspected of stealing this TV and on. She's like, miss, I didn't take the TV. I didn't take the TV. And then the cop, the female cop, and they said she already had a reputation of being overly aggressive. And then she grabbed the mother with the TV. She grabbed her arm, twisted her arm, threw her down to the ground, got on top of her, and began to choke her. And her 6-year-old daughter is in the car, right, panicking. Her 6-year-old daughter knew that her mother had a firearm in the car. The 6-year-old daughter went and got the firearm, took the safety off the firearm, got out the car, and pointed a gun at the female white cop and said, get the hell off. Her mother had passed out at that time from this white girl choking her to death. And she said, get off my mother. Get off my mother.
All right, I can't take no more. Listen to this, man. I let it play a couple times because I wanted y'all to hear how ridiculous that sounded, right? A 6-year-old got all this dialogue to be able to physically defend her mother with a firearm. Okay. Have anybody ever held a firearm? You know, for most adults with no training, the ability for them to grab a weapon and maybe just shoot it it's not that far-fetched. If it's already loaded and you know you got general working knowledge, it's like you can get in a car and press the gas pedal or the brake, you know what I'm saying? But like having skill and all of that stuff is something else. And then reacting to conflict. Okay, so let's just say that this Jason-born 6-year-old exists. Let's all things are true over here. You know what I'm saying? Because what's also true is me disagreeing with it. Let's just say a 6-year-old has the skills of Liam Neeson, Jason Bourne, Jack Reacher. Okay, so you mean to tell me a 6-year-old has the ability to respond with tactical proficiency in an escalated situation between an armed law enforcement professional and their mother? Okay, the 6-year-old has the wherewithal to, and situational awareness, to know where the weapon is and how to use the weapon in a heated situation. Okay, we talking about media literacy here, folks. Okay, so when I heard that, and then based on my own background and stuff, I was like, let me let me do a little research on it. But with this particular story, I didn't think much of it because I just saw it on Instagram and I was like, it'll pop up again. Then I get tagged in this story again on social media, on Facebook specifically. And then I had already looked it up on the source. The source was Dax News. I'm about to go ahead and show you that right now. See that? Dax News. This is it right here. Where can Dax News be found? Okay. As I looked at it, I was like, this looks like a TikTok screen. So, but I listened to it anyway. Hang on a second. Let's go.
She has a reputation of being overly zealous.
Let's just listen to the same thing y'all heard, you know?
About it. 38-year-old Denise Williams and her 6-year-old daughter Aaliyah went to Walmart to buy a TV. As they're leaving, the receipt flies out of Denise's bag. She doesn't realize it till she gets to the door. Trevor, the Walmart employee, stopped her, asked for proof of purchase. She realized it was missing. She flags down the cashier that had just processed the transaction. Cashier confirms it, but he is insisting that she cannot leave without a receipt. She's frustrated and determined not to cause a scene. Denise proceeded to her car and waved down a man in the parking lot to ask for help to load the TV into her car. As they're doing that, Officer Lindsay Carter pulls up. She has a reputation of being overly zealous. She exited the vehicle with her hand already resting on the holster gun. Trevor called the police, claiming that she had stolen the TV and assaulted him on her way out. Officer Carter immediately confronted Denise, accusing her of theft and demanding that she put her hands behind her back. Denise, caught off guard, tried to explain that she had already paid for the TV and confirmed it with the cashier, but Carter's tone grew increasingly aggressive. When Denise hesitated to comply with being handcuffed, pleading that she'd done nothing wrong, Officer...
Where else have you heard this story other than social media at this point? You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of information that they already got. They got the guy named Trevor that's that works there and had the interaction. And then on top of that, they have a photo resembling the alleged shooter. Well, one can presume that. When have you seen photos of a minor be released in a situation involving an exchange or gunfire, gun use at all? Think about these questions that I'm asking, right? Because you ain't seen this nowhere. Because it ain't real. All right. This doesn't exist. Now, I keep drawing you back to this right here. Dax News. Now I'm gonna keep letting this play. Because I'm gonna bring up a couple more videos.
Carter grabbed Denise by the arm, struck her in the ribs, and forced her to the ground, placing her in a chokehold as Denise gasped for air. Aaliyah, still seated in the SUV, watched in horror as her mother struggled. Panicking, she remembered the firearm her mother kept in the glove compartment for protection, a weapon Denise...
Cop is choking out her mother, allegedly, according to this story. 6-year-old daughter watches in horror, and now she's going for the firearm.
...had taught her to handle safely. Acting out of fear and desperation, Aaliyah retrieved the gun, stepped out of the SUV, pointed it at Officer Carter, screaming for her to stop. When Carter turned toward Aaliyah and appeared to reach for her own weapon, Aaliyah fired a single precise shot, striking the officer.
So the cop went from a chokehold, according to the story, went from a chokehold to responding to a 6-year-old with a weapon trained on her. Now she has the enough control over the situation to maintain the chokehold and reach for a firearm. Okay, we're gonna keep going though.
In the eye. Carter collapsed to the ground dead. Aaliyah immediately dropped the gun and rushed to her mother's side, sobbing and begging for her to wake up. As Denise is regaining consciousness, more officers are arriving on the scene. They are both taken into custody, but after thorough investigation, they were cleared of any wrongdoing. They also watched the footage of her buying the TV. And Aaliyah is basically deemed a hero, is justifiable as she acted in defense of her mother's life. Trevor, baby, you work at Walmart. Even if she did steal it, that's not clear about the 6-year-old that killed a cop in Michigan.
Okay. Now, we're going into a different set of videos very shortly because I want to make sure we capture this. Now, when I started doing a little bit more research, I said, well, who is Dax News? And then I got to looking, and then I started finding other content. So it was other people saying the same thing.
Okay, y'all, have y'all heard about the 6-year-old who unalived a police officer in Michigan? Well, if you haven't, let me tell you. So the 6-year-old's name is Aaliyah. She and her mother went to Walmart. Her mother name is Denise. Denise purchased a TV at Walmart, went through the register and got ready to check out, but she didn't realize that her receipt, she had dropped her receipt after the checkout, but prior to leaving.
It's the same story, right? Another source, same website.
6-year-old took out a cop in Michigan.
Let me break it down for you so it makes
Denise
sense.
Williams and her 6-year-old daughter went to Walmart to buy a TV.
Trevor, the employee of the month, stopped them when they were leaving and asked for the receipt.
Denise could not find the receipt and the cops were
She
called.
tried to keep her cool and just calmly walked with her daughter to the
That's
car.
when Officer Lindsay Carter arrives.
Now, Carter has a reputation of one of those cops who think that they're in the action
Denise
movie.
is trying to explain, but Carter
All of this is just on social medias right now. We've been on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And then I had already known where this was going, right? And then I found this one. I said, this is the only one that's probably going to make sense. And here we go.
Within these last few days on TikTok, there has been a story about a 6-year-old who unalived a cop, and I need to talk about this. I'm talking about it because I fell for it. I'm going to be the first one to admit it. I fell for it. I saw this story. It was about a 6-year-old who had unalived a cop who had been trying to arrest the mother because she had apparently tried to steal a TV, which really she hadn't. And the story it goes that the mother had paid for the TV, but she had lost the receipt somehow on the way to her car. And then an employee asked her for the receipt. Blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. It was fake. It was posted by this AI news source where this person creates stories. And not only that, but then other people started picking it up and started talking about it and posting the pictures of this little girl who I don't know who this little girl was or if she's just AI generated or what, but it's very harmful. The reason why this is harmful is because in the future, when stories come out, when things come out, people are going to be questioning whether it's real or not, which is not bad. But at the same time, the validity it takes away from real stories that are happening now and making you question everything. That is literally the point of AI. And like, you know, this is why people say AI is so dangerous, because you may think that you're not going to be falling for it, and one day you might. I'm vulnerable. I was vulnerable. I fell for it, and I admit it. And this is why I'm talking about it, because if someone like me that always sees things and is always like, oh my gosh, how are people believing these stories? Are they not like seeing them through? I fell for it. I saw somebody talking about it and I believed it because I didn't find the credible source of it. So be careful what you believe.
So a lot of y'all like to be first, loud, and don't care about the accuracy. You know, I like to wait for information to come out as much as I can. I ain't saying I can't make a mistake, but generally speaking, I make a very deliberate effort to make sure I understand exactly what it is that I'm going to be discussing. So everybody keeps hearing about this Dax Media, you know, in this conversation, because I keep going back to the badge that's up there, right? So here's Dax Media. All right. This is what's on this web page. From pigeon to prison, a Bronx resident's war against spy birds end in arrest. Harlem meets the D. Cameron's pink hot dog craze take over Detroit, Coney Islands. Let's see here. What else is in this? Former Walmart worker Trevor McCaffrey indicted for false accusation that led to officer's death. That same story that was before. Come on, man. You gotta heartbreak at 75. Wife ends 55-year union over husband's rapper aspirations. So you guys get the idea of the type of stories that's on this website, you know? And it's meant to be just satire, right? But too many people are very vulnerable to misinformation or in satire. And it may be done as a joke, you know, but it goes too far sometimes, you know, for some people. And I wanted that to make sense. But, you know, you guys can always, like, look, check this out, right? Look, is that not strange? That's what's on this website right here. See what I mean? That's what's on this website. See that? You don't find that to be strange? This is what's on Dax Media. This is where that story came from that we just talked about with the 6-year-old having the wherewithal to off a cop. And now we got this right here, up here. All right. This is AI Media. Now, you could have believed that story all you wanted to about the made-up story that's in the title, right? And then on that same website, you got a 3-eyed baby. You know what I'm saying? And how are we supposed to take everything seriously? If everything's true, if everything's true, then just go get the source. If you want to keep putting out bad information, this is exactly what you get right here. This right here is what your bad sourced information is right here. A 3-eyed baby. You can say it exists, but can you prove it? Man, look, we got to get better on media literacy, okay? There's a lot of things that's taking place within social media, and I think a lot of folks are just now coming to the acceptance phase of like, it's really here to stay. It's not going anywhere, and it impacts the way that we communicate. It makes it hard to trust. It makes you look twice. You know what I'm saying? In that case, with the 3-eyed baby 3 times. So if you want to believe that a 6-year-old has the tactical proficiency to grab a weapon under duress, to pull the trigger and off a cop that's also got her mother in a chokehold, then there ain't very many things that we could talk about logically, okay? If you believe that the source of that story is credible and it also has a story with a 3-eyed baby that I just showed you visually, then there's a lot of things we can't talk about, okay? So, hey, man, this is beyond the algorithm right here. This is beyond the algorithm. We cannot just give everything instant validation just because it's so shocking that it just has to be true. Stories like this are what used to run tabloids, and now people have become a walking tabloid because they don't care about facts. And the same people that don't care about facts expects their government's transparency to be truthful. You can't have it both ways, man. You cannot have it both ways. But hey, I already said what I got to say, and this is beyond the algorithm, man. Like, share, and subscribe. Go in the comments. Check out the rest of my social media platforms. Follow me on TikTok at Stepdaddy Shop, and make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll see you guys later on.